Struggling with your short game, we have got you covered. I'm delighted to be joined today by Harry Lines, brilliant golf coach. We're walking you through all the shots around the green that are wrecking your scorecard.
Chips.
Extra salty, of course.
Wet lies, short-sided shots, and those plug lies as well.
And my personal favourite, the Scottish wedge. Let's go. If you seriously want to play better golf, subscribe so you never miss a free video. Harry's warm-up is Spanish hands for a specialty flop shot. We only use this shot when we're short-sided. We've got an object between us and the hole. We cannot run it along the ground. We have to get it up in the air. So how would we actually set up to this, Harry?
Ball position, I tend to move forwards a little bit.
Okay.
I'm also going to have my weight a little bit more on my left side just to help me get that strike coming down into the golf ball a little bit. Trying to get maximum loft on this shot. So we want to turn this face open. So we've got the club face pointing towards the sky.
So we've opened the face. The loft is now pointing more upward towards the sky. So that means two things. The ball's going to go higher now, which is great. We want that. But you've got to hit it much harder. So what sort of swing length would you employ here?
Yeah, so I'd go a little bit longer than my standard pitch shot just to generate that speed, help us get that height on the ball.
Is there anything you would think about, like around impact in terms of your release? Is there anything you'd be thinking here to maximize height?
Yeah, again, maintaining loft. So feeling for me, I like to feel like the club head is kind of sliding underneath the ball, and the club head actually starts to overtake the hands a little bit on the way through. So we're maintaining that loft pointing towards the sky. Should pitch it up nice and high into the air, land it nice and soft then as well. Two balls nearest the pin, Harry's up first. So it sounds like you know what you're talking about. Let's see if you can put your money where your mouth is. Let's see it. We'll find out.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Oh, there we go.
That was absolutely mint.
No pressure.
It's going to be a hard one to beat.
No pressure. Hands are trembling.
My hands have never trembled. Oh, it's a drop kick. Oh, jeez. That was sloppy. He's done me. 1-0. This next one's a Scottish seaside specialty. When the wind is blowing so hard, you can't feel your face. You cannot hit high pitches. You can't get it up in the air. Enter the bump and run. It's
a super easy shot to play. We haven't got any obstacles in the way, and it's going to make it nice and easy to get close to the flag.
With quite a narrow stance, I think, relative to a flop shot. We're going to have much more weight in our left. I've gone for a 7-iron here, but I've seen guys hit them with like as low as like a 3-iron, a 4-iron. You'll see guys hit like 3-wood shots.
Yeah, it's just an extended putter, really, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Any other thoughts you'd have around like when other times you'd use this shot?
If the flag's further back on the green, or maybe there's like a ridge in the green, I don't want to fly it over. Try and run it up the ridge.
In terms of the swing length as well, obviously it's going to be a little bit shorter. Would you be thinking about anything in terms of movement wise, how you're going to create the power? So obviously with our kind of flop shot, we tend to use our wrists a little bit more because we can create a bit more speed. How would you play this?
I tend to keep the wrists a little bit quieter. So try and just use like my bigger muscles, keep the structure between the arms, and just that gentle rocking of the shoulders, really just sending it back and through.
Just very similar to a putt.
Yeah, very similar. We don't need much speed. We don't need much anything really, just to nudge it forwards.
The one thing I'd actually just slightly add to that, if you're ever hitting a bump and run that's like incredibly short, like really short, in that sort of scenario, that would be the one time I might use a little bit of wrists.
Okay,
if it's like super, super short, just because it's quite hard to get the touch in those really short ones, because you would have to have such a short swing if you're putting it all together.
Yeah, so you could use like a little bit of wrist.
I think so. If it's like super short, you can almost just let your wrist just play a little there, and you'll see my arms aren't really moving much, but there's just a tiny little bit of movement in my wrists. That's the only time I'd have a bit of wrist in that.
I like that. I like that a lot.
So I'm already 1-0 down after the flop shot. We're going to level the game here. It's going to be 1-1.
You can tell by the wear mark in your 7-9 you use this shot a lot. Ooh.
Oh, that's terrible. Go,
that's not
go.
a pretty bounce.
He's got to put me to the sword here. Surely, to the sword. He's nailed it. Again.
Oh.
I think he's de-greened it. Spongy, squelchy, wet turf.
Pitching off this stuff is brutal, but luckily we've got just the thing. So the ground's really wet and soft, so this makes our strike really difficult. It makes our margin of error really, really small as well.
So if we catch the ground before the ball here, we get penalised like way more than we would for a normal shot where the ground's a bit firmer.
Exactly that, yes.
Why is that actually?
Just because it's so wet and that leading edge is going to dig into the ground. So that's just going to dig in.
Typically it would bounce off the ground a bit more when you get away with it.
Or if the ball's sat that bit higher on the grass, then obviously we've got the margin of error in terms of going underneath the golf ball.
We've actually got this double hard because it's wet and it's also really bare. So you've not got any grass under the ball. So it's super, super difficult.
Yeah, so precision on strike here is key.
To get that really good strike, we have to get the golf club traveling really steeply downward. If the club is traveling too flat along the ground, we're going to catch the ground really early and we're never going to get that good shot. The leading edge is going to dig, you're going to fat it. So we have to get the club traveling really steeply downward. But this does cause a problem, doesn't it, Harry?
It does, yeah. It's very tricky to do for a start, and also if we actually get that club traveling down too much and hitting into the ground, taking a big divot, that's going to be tricky to control as well.
Yeah, it's going to stick in at the turf too much. So we've almost got to get it like traveling really down, and then we actually want to pull that club up, so it's like glancing the ground quite quick. Really tough shot this to actually play. Very
hard, yeah. So like we were saying, it wants to come down steep enough but not actually dig into the ground load, so just kind of getting that brush on the ground just after the ball. So what are you changing?
So I'm going to pop loads of weight in my left here, particularly. I'm going to move the ball slightly back in my stance.
Okay, yeah.
I'm going to slightly open the face actually here, and I'm going to stand a little bit closer to the golf ball.
Okay, so all of those things there are doing exactly what we just said, getting that club coming down into the ball a bit more without digging it into the ground.
That was actually wonderful.
Nice, you take that all day. Really good shot.
Yeah, so if you actually look at the divot there, I've barely really taken any divot. That's one of the really actually best shots I've hit on that. I was really chuffed with that. I've got the club traveling super downward on that, really steep. But then I've literally just felt as if I've just let my wrists just kind of pull the club back up. So it's almost like a really downward sort of fashion, and then a softness with my wrist to bring that club up there.
And that's a really hard shot, but there's also another way you can play it.
So you can actually, rather than trying to get super steep on it and then pick it out the turf, you can make this a bit simpler by just getting less of the club to entrap the turf. So if you look at this here, if I've got the wedge flat in the turf, then the whole sole of the club here is on the ground. Now, if I raise the shaft of the club up, now you'll see the heel end is off the turf. We've only got this part of the toe entrapping with the ground. So now we can actually afford to be a bit more shallow. And even if we do fat it, because there's less of the club in with the turf, it's not going to be quite as bad. We get away with it a bit more.
Tends to just help get that strike going through the ball a bit more,
So I like that as like a solution. If you have to play the shot and you're a higher handicap, I'd try and play it like that.
Yeah, give it a
Obviously, if you can, hit the bump and run there. Harry's back in the hot seat. We're taking it to 2-1.
I'm just happy with anything on the green here.
Oh, that was wonderful. Oh, my word.
Oh.
I tell you what, that's actually the first shot he's hit there. That was sublime. That was better than any of the ones I've hit earlier.
No pressure, but you've practiced.
I know, I've had about 4 shots here. Oh, I've fatted it. Oh, that's horrible. And it's just sublime. I tell you, I do feel a smidge guilty taking a point there, but I'm going to take it. I actually felt like my hands just stopped and kind of juddered on that one.
Just got stuck. I reckon we might need a referee on this one.
What do you think? Shall we measure out the flag? Yeah, we're here.
Oh, he's done it. He's done it. It's 2-1. It's 2-1.
That's all we needed. We're back in the sand. Leave your bucket and spade at home. Get out first time, every time.
So we've got a basic bunker shot here. So this one is the only time in golf pretty much where we hit the floor first.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. How would you change your setup to do that?
Ball a little bit forward to center.
Yep.
And then I feel like my hands are kind of like in line with the golf ball rather than too far forwards.
Yep.
As well with this one, just because we want to get it up quickly, you're going to open the face a little bit.
That sand's going to slow the club down.
Yeah.
Because it's going to add that bit of resistance. So you just want to hit it a little bit harder.
Big one for me is just keep turning through the shot. So make sure we get our body moving through the shot as well. So that keeps, like you say, with the speed there going through the ball.
Yeah.
All right, let's give it a go.
That's nice. So if we have a bunker shot where we don't actually find ourselves in the middle and we're a bit more towards the edge of the bunker, I think we've got to change quite a lot of stuff here.
Yeah, definitely.
Number one, we've got to hope and pray we don't end up like this, because that's really hard. But if we do, there's a couple of things we can do to get out. Because the ball's much closer to the lip, we've got to get the golf club traveling upward really quick so we don't hit the lip here. That's our number one.
Exactly that, yeah. We're going to have less of like a low and slope kind of takeaway. We want to get that working more vertical straight away, really.
Yeah. Well, so we're going to try and get the club much more vertical. I've got 1 foot outside the sand, 1 foot in it, and I'm putting a lot more weight in this left foot just to allow me, just like you said there, to get that club a little bit more vertical, I think. And from there, now that the club is traveling more vertical, very similar to that wet lie shot we're hitting, the club is obviously going to travel deeper into the ground now. So we have to work real hard to actually get it back out of the ground. So I'm almost trying to imagine here, I'm super left, I'm going to get that quick hinge up here, I'm going to send it down, and then I'm going to be super soft from my wrists and bring it right back up. So it's quite a lot of wrist work here. It's quite a tricky sort of shot.
That's it. And actually the how deep the club goes into the ground is not that deep. It's just coming down steep, hitting the turf, and then coming away.
Yeah, so it's almost like it's entering just behind the ball, and then you're picking it back right up out of the turf. See if we can do it.
Nice, very nice.
Okay. You see how like I've finished kind of here, quite low hands, and I've really got that club quite up quite quick. So these are like a golfer's worst nightmare. The ball is plugged right down deep in the sand. It's actually vertically much lower in the sand now.
So obviously now we've got to get the club going underneath the ball a lot more, so actually digging into the ground. So the opposite of some of the other shots we've been showing today. Yeah, because when we're talking about the wet lie shot, we talked about getting the club to skimming off the ground. Exactly. Now it's almost like we have to get the club to go vertically underneath the ground much more, because that ball's been brought down. So we've got two ways to play this. Yeah, 2 ways, I'd say,
Walk me through one of them.
So the way I tend to play this is probably a bit harder to play for like your average golfer, but I find it gives me a bit more control when I get it right. So I tend to get the face a bit more open and then feel like I'm trying to dig the heel of the club down into the sand underneath the ball. And what this does is when you get the strike right, is it starts to pop it up a little bit softer. So the problem we have with plug lies is when the ball comes out, there's very little control. Yeah, it comes out with like no spin. Exactly, and it tends to run on quite a lot. And this is really good as well if you've got like a much higher lip. So if you've got a much higher lip on the bunker and you're trying to get it up quicker, this can tend to help with that. It does take more speed though. Yeah, the issue is I always see with this, one, you need more speed. Two, it's really hard to get you actually hitting the club vertically down enough. Yeah. Because when you obviously open the face up, it tends to bounce up a bit. So you've 100%. Really got to like almost axe throw this. Yeah, really feel for me. You really feel like you're digging this part of the club into the ground. So that's your entry point. Let's see it, shall we? All right, let's give it a go. So yeah, same things as a normal bunker shot. So face open, a little bit more weight on my left side, and then I'm going to try and dig that heel underneath. That's all right. Came out a bit hot. Yeah, it didn't quite get as low as I wanted. So the other option we've got is where we play it with that square face. So talk us through that. Yeah, so we play with a square face. It's going to give us a bit of a higher margin for error. Yeah. So for most golfers, it's going to be much, much easier. Quite simply, because when we have that square face, we're going to have less bounce in the club, and the club's going to dig more into the ground. And because that ball's so much lower, because it's plugged, we need it to dig much more. Now, this could cause a bit of an issue in two ways. One, if we do pull it off, and it is obviously easier to pull off, like we said, it's not going to go as high as the one you've done. So if you've got high lip, it's a really hard one. Second thing, it will come off a bit hotter because you have got less loft on the club. It'll tend to run out a little bit more. Yeah, that's it. Two thoughts. But apart from that, we're going to play it the same ways. So very much similar to a normal bunker shot. I'm going to put a touch more weight in my left foot and just play it with that square face. See that club digging in. And if anything, I'm almost stopping the club just at post impact, just letting it like pop out. That one was really nice, actually. You can see how low that came out. And then how much roll it gets as well. Yeah, that's landed short of the green. It's ended up pretty close, but it's hard to kind of trundle through all the rough. So this challenge, we've gone to a longer bunker shot. I've actually pulled that 50 degree here, just because we're about, what, 30 yards away, 25 yards away? Yeah, there's a good bit of distance there. Pile on the pressure then. I'm 2-1 down. I've just completely fatted that. That was horrible. Right. Do you want to grab me a golf ball? All right, you've got very little to beat there. He's literally just got to not duff it into the bunker, and it's 2-2. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. I'll take that. That's pretty good. I'll take it. The proper player right there, guys. 2-2. Nothing beats a Scottish wedge. So you use this because you're constantly duffing chips. Exactly. It's the perfect workaround. Genuinely, if you struggle with any contact around the green, this is honestly perfect. Not enough people use it. Putter from off the green. The only issue it sometimes has is if the ground's like really uneven, really bobbly, you've got loads of like dirt or obstacles in the way, it can obviously affect it. Obviously, you're going to have to hit it a bit harder. You've got a bit longer to travel. You've got to get through the rough, but honestly, it's pretty hard to get it wrong. Yeah, it should be, yeah. You might not get it super close every time, but you're probably going to hit this close on a pitch. For any shot around the green, I think it's real beneficial to just think, firstly, can you putt it? If you can't putt it, then can you hit a bumper run? Can't hit a bumper run, can you hit a chip? Can't hit a chip, we'll hit a pitch. Can't hit a pitch, we'll hit a flop shot. Yeah. I try and go through it in that order. You've almost got like a tier there where like you can take out or add in what's in the way, basically. Yeah, exactly. We can just make it as hard or as easy as we like. Yeah, perfect. So what's really important here is when we're off the green, our length of stroke for the putt is going to get longer to get that bit of extra speed through that longer grass before it hits the green, basically. So as opposed to hitting it harder, you'd rather see a longer length stroke, but keeping the same kind of tempo? Exactly that, yeah. Keep the rhythm, keep the tempo, but just lengthen that out. It gives us a bit more speed. So as it gets into the golf ball, the club's traveling that little bit faster. I also think it's a little bit easier to judge as well if we change length of swing.
rather than tempo. If we go like same length of swing all the time and just change the tempo, it's really hard to judge how far you can hit it.
Yeah, very inconsistent.
Final leg of the challenge. This is it. It's 2-2. This for the win. We're 40 yards away from the green here. We're pulling out the Scottish wedge. I've actually seen my dad hit putter from off the green for about over 100 yards before, so this is nothing new. Let's go for it.
All right, let's give it a go. Oh,
it's not bad. It's not bad. It's not enough though.
Short, well short.
The trick is for this, you need to get a little bit of wrist hinge, and we need to start getting a bit of pivot
bit more
on
speed.
We're about that far away now.
Full tilt it.
Do you use your power grip for this, or do you go for like a?
I did then, but I can't say I've ever done it before.
I was just thinking that just now. You know. Go. Oh, it's good.
Oh,
it's very good.
That is good. That is good. There was only one with a Scottish wedge, wasn't there?
Boom, boom. I think that's honestly been a highlight of my week. It's been good.
Taking the win.
Subscribe to the channel so you never miss a free video. Comment below what you've learned from this video. Thank you, Harry, so much for joining. It's been incredible. You've been brilliant. Check out Harry's coaching on Instagram at Harry Lines Golf and on all of your other social media.
Short game for me is all about having fun, trying different techniques and experimenting. Give yourself some like bad lies, good lies, and just have fun out there practicing.
Check out the description below for all my free coaching content. And are you struggling to create more power in your game? If so, check out the video above and have an incredible day.